Hello and welcome. It is the 7th day of January 2018. My name is Derek Allbets Trades and of the like, within each his own risk and their own reward. Neckline for the inverted head and shoulders pattern, I'll say is here. At least that's where this resistance was. I guess this might be a little bit better because technically it hit this day, close enough on this day, and it was the top on this one. Either way, price action above such, making the statement of breaking out, reversing the trend. And if we go through the stages, stage one, band flattening out, and well, Litecoin against the dollar, it was one of those instant moves, well above it, of course. Two green candles getting noticeably above the 18 highs, and then good volatility grinding its way up to this point in a little under 7 days time, or a week. Correctionary move, so there's the established resistance at a level you would have expected it to go to, which was a match of this high. 18 lows, of course, supporting very well, and then the breakout above such on the 4-hour term. Just a little bit of resistance, but keyword was just a little bit. Amongst the single hour, we can again see it more. Markets don't always have to come back, at least even short term or long term, to these key levels. For short term, we can see as far as support being established, originally it was right here, but that was where it came from at this resistance level. Then this period in here, it lowered it a little bit. We can see just within this line before I move it that it resisted it here, and now it's breaking out and trying to hold above that line. But then support got established down in here. Hit this time multiple times. It came back on this 12-hour timestamp earlier today. And then again at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, lifting off, of course. Multiple hit within it. Obviously not going down to this level, but if it did, then that's where I'd expect support to come in. But this period is breaking out above the 18 average of highs and the even more shorter resistance level at about between 38 and 20 and 38.40, as we can see. So this is the hour time frame is what I'm looking for. Therefore, this is an attempt to continue the trend, as markets can correct either through price or through time. And within this high in here, this was its correction. It found its support, then getting above this, great move. And now this has been a longer correction, but resistance has been established as well. And this band between 39.5 up to about 40. So the high 39s is a very interesting level of resistance. It looks like it's going to make an attempt to hit that high. That's what I'm seeing just with this quick move in here. That's where it's looking to be poised to go. And of course, if I see little areas in here hold over the next 2-3 hours, and it wouldn't be a surprise that it makes it there. And what happens when it goes there? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it even broke it and continued its up move on the daily term, because that's what happens in bull markets. At least if this is turning into one, that's what you would expect, is you'd have your little small correctionary short-term move, and then everything's just back into the up status when resistance breaks. Thus, clear break above 40 means several basis points higher would probably be in store. And now I can use the daily time frame for such, and if decent move, you'd have to think that it could easily make it up to this fly through the 40s and make it up to the high 40, like 48 high, 49 area to 50. So 48, 47, I'll say, up to 50 as the lower end of the support area. And who knows if it can, how far it can go when it makes this point. But it's bull market. Stage one, band flatten out, resistance established, come back to the band, then break resistance, which it is obviously just done. Looking at this against Bitcoin, and it broke its inverted head and shoulders pattern with this neckline in here, has managed to make it to a previous resistance point And here, obviously, no comeback to the support area. But if this all falters from here and it comes back, then that's definitely nowhere near damaging, at least not as of yet. It would be one heck of a failed breakout if it is, because this is a huge statement on a serious reversal coming. But when you have two green candles up, we have this little small reddish candle, at least small in comparison to the previous 2 days. And now we've followed through, getting most of those small losses back in today's session. This thing could go for huge gains. Your status is already well exposed above the 18 average of highs. And that can definitely make these wild moves be just that. As we see, weekly term, there's some of these gains in here, 72% on this week. We have like 78%. There are just some fantastic weekly possibilities. This last week it was 16%. If it was to have a 17% week, or 70% rather, then that would take us to about 17 handle, right into this level. So to think that this could happen by Saturday or Sunday, what kind of odds would I give it? If I was a bookmaker, and my job is say, hey Derek, I want out the exact probability odds, and then we're going to juice it from there for the chances of this. Now, this is advanced for bookmaking odds, but the first thing I would do is, when I say this percentage, I might be way off, but we've seen it's these 70% moves do happen. They are going to happen in situations like this when you're rallying above the 18 highs. To think 10% is the fair number, 8%. And if it was an 8% likelihood, will the market go to this number? That means I can only offer, like, it's like 12 to 1 type thing, we'll say, 12 to 1 odds. So in Vegas, you might go, okay, let's do like, if you want to, let's do, say, minus 15 and 10 to 1, or like plus 1,000 minus 1,500, which means if you want to bet that it's going to go here, we'll give you 10 to 1 odds that it will go to 160. If not, 1,500 to win 1,000. But because I realize everybody, like not many people would be too enthusiastic at 10 to 1 odds for such a big move, I probably have to do something like make this go to plus 1,200 minus 2,000 just to try to even out betting action. But when it comes down to it, and this has got nothing to do with bets, it's just probability odds, and this is just an example of how bookmakers would calculate it. There's decent probabilities it can have an extreme move, and even before, and here we can see in this case it had a 42% move. But just to get to this point, when we look at this from its volatility, let's just see, do we got the right week? Yeah, 42% move. A low of the 833 and a high of 180. That was noticeably better than double. Okay. So the moves that can happen in here most certainly can come into play for decent size. Now, whether they will or not, I mean, time is going to go on. Message of the market's going to do what it's going to do. It's always going to come down to the buyers and sellers in this market. But I see this as an attempt to break this, and just like anything else, whenever a market has a good move above the 18, that's about as minimum to qualify. Then holding this area wherever the 18 high is, which was going to usually always go back to its shorter term resistance, very big to hold. And if you see anything in this nature, well, this pattern here is okay. We're ready to go. Probability odds very soon of going to here is high. Probability odds there after that of breaking it also become high. And thus, usually bull markets do what they do. And if we look at the LITECOIN crossing against Ethereum, then this is just a beautiful pattern. The sideways consolidation on this hour, it's also looking to break out. 4-hour time frame, this is in a bullish run, but there is this little miniature small bull flag after a nice up move, small correction here, up move, and breaking this level of resistance. We can now start to talk about this empty space. Originally breaking out here, you'd be talking about, okay, let's see if we come up to this level of resistance. It did. Oh, what's after that? Okay, we got this little key area. That's where it's at. That's where it's been congesting from the last several 4-hour periods. So what do we got next? Well, we got 61.8% Fibonacci, pretty much right around this area, which coincides within here. But if Litecoin's going to go against that of Bitcoin, that of the dollar, most likely, unless Ethereum's ready to take off itself, this is going to do the same thing as well. And obviously, this doesn't look like Ethereum is taking off right now. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. But this all a matter of division when it comes down to it. What's the price of Litecoin? What's the price of Ethereum? It's not like it's the major trade. They're just trading it against each other. That's good for the exchange, because if somebody's looking to directly turn Litecoin for Ethereum, not for just trading purposes or whatever, just because that's what they want to do, this exchange makes it easier. Then you got people who want to trade, like myself, that want to trade the highs and lows, albeit I'm not trading this cross, primarily because I'm trading both of them as base currencies. But if that's the case, you have your buy orders and sell orders working, and when you have these types of, and the monthly doesn't show it as well, the weekly, all of this choppy up and down action, then it looks really, really good for trade purposes. And then you got people that are looking to arbitrage it, because they see they can get maybe a 1 or 2% edge, or a 0.5% edge even. This is usually all you're going to get, because buying or selling on this exchange can get you a small deal. I'm going to sell it here, and then against Bitcoin, against a dollar, I'm going to do this, and that's available for people too. So that's why I'm a really big fan of these types of exchanges. I'm going to finish this video off by going over the Ethereum, and then the next video I'm going to do is Ethereum versus Ethereum Classic. I'm going to do a buy low, sell high, or just an example amongst that. So let's take a look at Ethereum against, first against the dollar. Okay, I mean, Bitcoin is doing better than this as of late, as far as, well, this is weekly. Let's do the daily. It's a different story. Okay. I mean, this is just typical. You have this level of resistance, comes back down to support, grinding its way, taking a lot longer to go from point A, which is here, to point B. This one it took a couple of days. This one it took a little less than 2 weeks. Okay, that's fine. Obviously, uptrend line, it's holding really well. Short term, we're at a conclusion of this ascending triangle. And if this thing fails to the downside, well, we got all this empty space in here, making a higher low. I mean, 38.2% is the first level in here, then 61.8%. So filling some of this empty space, even below the 18 average of lows, is so totally fine on a bull market case. Any pullback, you can start talking about cup and handle formations, and the reason why cup and handles work so well is because in order to formit or to make your cup before the handle, you need a damn good rally to do it, and this has had a damn good rally. So therefore, if it has a justifiable sell-off anywhere down into here and then moves up here, the second half of it is just stating after the damn good rally, it has a good enough sell-off, and then it matches that sell-off by getting everything that it loses back to get to the neckline, and then getting above the neckline shows that you break a key level of resistance, and it's oftentimes ready to go for a good gain. And I want to go over this relatively quickly, but single hour time frame, it's still neutral, chopping around back and forth. No indication on its single hour like on LITECOIN for it. Quickly, Ethereum against Bitcoin. Let's bring it up. On its hour time frame, obviously, it's correcting that empty space after it broke. If you connect these trend lines where the 18 lows are piercing below the 18 lows, found support, It broke it. We had this, that was support established, and when it broke this support, decent leg lower, then it's been continually grinding lower ever since. On the daily chart, it's just coming back to where it came from. It could still go deeper back into here. 38.2%, we're looking somewhere around 34, 35 handle. 61% down, we're looking at somewhere around the 30-ish number. And that empty space could easily be filled, but it's established this level of resistance only once hit. And ideally, to make just a good pattern, I'd like to see it maybe come down towards here, but if it bottoms now, you can still make good patterns. Maybe find a way slowly, as we've seen with the previous chart, coming back. Maybe do something like this and then breaking out above. That is like an ideal situation to occur. But let the market do what it needs to do. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.